Hey, folks, welcome back to the Pulse. My name's Matt. This is Crypto Heartbeat, and it is 2:16 Central Texas time, and it is September 11th, 22 years. 22 years it's been since the towers fell on 9/11. And what an interesting day to do this stream as I reflect upon what is your life worth. I got a call this afternoon from a friend, and this friend of mine was really, really struggling. And I don't know if you've ever had a call like that where somebody just really is in a place where they just don't know which way is up. They don't know which way to go. And I'm sure in this bear market, you can relate to that. You know, we get in these positions, and boy, I'll tell you, it's good to have a friend. And it just made me reflect on all this. And I'm like, you know what? This is what I need to talk about because there are people that are out there who are struggling big time. And I don't know about you, but I would say you either have experienced suicide in your family or know someone that has, and you know that it can be obviously one of the darkest things possible. And of course, it doesn't help. Financial reasons are a big reason why people feel completely lost, right? So many relationships are affected by money. And of course, what do you expect from Crypto Heartbeat, right? You're not getting TA here. But I wanted to encourage you today. I wanted to talk to you today about this. I think it's a good reflective day to talk about worth, your life's worth. So many times in crypto, we're talking about our value as it relates to when Lambo. How much is my life worth, right? And we think about it often based on your bags, right? And we determine this because it's a heck of a scorecard. I'll have to admit, it's a great scorecard because you're like, hey, am I winning or am I losing? And of course, as things go down, it's like riding this roller coaster. And social media doesn't help, right? You kind of get sucked into this and you think that who you are is related to this number that's in some MetaMask wallet. But I'm here to remind you that what goes along with this win in crypto is actually something absolutely incredible. And that is the relationships that are built, the friendship, the community, all of those things. And so with that, let's say hello to you in the chat first, and then we will get into the content. Kadium, hello, what's up? It's what you make of it by spreading the word of God. Hello, what's up, Kadium? Good to see you here. Thanks for being here on the Pulse today. We're going to pump you up. Remember that back in the day? Hans and Franz, Dana Carvey? Yeah, I used to love that. Taryn, Matt, what's coming out swinging on this one? Yeah, we're going to be swinging a little bit, but also going to really want to speak to those who are challenged and are struggling. And I want to give you some perspective because I think a big part, I've been in very, very dark places before, and I'm sure you have as well. And, there's something about the night into the next day where you realize, you know what? These things are going to work themselves out, and it's a mystery, but we need others to help us in that, in those dark times. And I learned it so well today. But I also learned it from this guy, David Lee. He's the guy who is the epitome of friendship and the big hugs. He traveled 7.5 hours to my dad's funeral. I didn't know David Lee. I hadn't met him. I talked to him on the phone, but he traveled all the way from southwestern Indiana to Michigan to come to my dad's funeral. He came to the funeral home, and then he stayed overnight and came to the funeral, and we hung out. And, you don't realize for him, it was just something you do. And I'll tell you what, to have a hexagon like that, meet me in my time of need. It was incredible. And of course, there's so much value that comes from that in so many different ways. It was an encouragement not only to me, but also to Ray and to David himself. And so when we think about what is the value, especially at these dark times in the bear market, where we've got to be reminded that there's more to this than just number go up. And so that's what I want to talk to you about today. But David Lee, thank you for your encouragement and your friendship and for how you help everyone, right, move forward. And we just are at different times, right? We need each other. It is so true. But sometimes you just need somebody to say, hey, it's going to be okay. We can move forward. Let's not reflect on the past. Let's not beat ourselves up about it. Let's move forward. So that's what we're going to talk about. Magnus, let's go. What's going on? DJ Dougie Peach in the house. What's going on, buddy? So glad that you're here. Michael, Adamek, what's going on? Hello, everyone. And Sam Kemp. Sam Kemp, talk about another guy who is consistent, always supporting people within the community and supporting the independence of Texas. Boy, I'll tell you what, I have a feeling that this thing is going to be independent before you know it. Why? I think it's going to be over this border issue personally. Checks my pulse. What's going on? Afternoon, Matt. I remember being taken out of school on that day. Wow, Taryn, a person who's had a personal experience with this. I remember where I was in my family. And it's something that is just so abrupt, right? Anyone who's passing, regardless of how, it's so final. And I want to speak to those who are really challenged right now. They don't see a light at the end of the tunnel, right? They see carnage. And I'm going to make a case for, after we get through the chat here, I'm going to make a case for how we're supposed to see this stuff, right? In the bigger context. That's what I'm going to break down today. What's up, all? Good to see you. Godfather J6 back again. Thanks for being here, man. You've been here since the beginning. You are a faithful viewer of all things Hex and Pulse and Pulse X and Texan and Ophir and all that stuff. Samantha, afternoon lovelies with the heart. Drix in the house. Bright Light 57. Hey, it's been a while. Thanks for coming back. And the only one says, what is your life worth? $1,480.93, and it's provable. Same cost to save my life as well. The only one. The only one was one of the first people I talked to when I went to my first meetup in Austin. And so it is so good to see you in the chat. The only one. Texan OG day one after Matt. Good to see you. MT Coiner back again. Good day to you. NT Fryer, relationships for the win. That is awesome, everybody. So Hex on air. Good to see you. Paul Optus 7. Wow, we got a whole healthy group of folks here. Yeah, he is the real Mr. Hart, isn't he? That is right. David Lee is the real Mr. Hart. All on. Good to see you. Wealthy. The Wealthy is here. That's a good one. I like that. I like that name a lot. And that logo. Hexonium, Hexfather Matt, good to see you on this 9/11. Yeah, we're reflecting on the value of life. What is your life worth? And so often in crypto, we're putting a dollar figure on that. John May, my life's not worth much, but to me, it's everything. There you go. Well, and that's the thing. Who is the judge of what your life is worth? Ease and chill. Good to see you. All right, let's jump into this right now and let's talk about it. So my friend that called me earlier today is in a position or was in a position that we all find ourselves in. I've been in that very same position. And I got a buddy who's actually sitting across the room from me who knows, when things are tough, there's something about somebody that's willing to listen to you, right? And I just want to encourage you, if you ever run into anyone, it's very difficult for people to ask for help, especially men. And, I consider it such a privilege and an honor for someone to say, hey, I need to talk. And I would just encourage you, anybody ever needs to talk to them. And a lot of times it's not what you say, it's the fact that you take the time. And, I don't think a lot of people need, directions. They just need to literally, let it out. And, I look at that and I reflect on the value of community. And I never in a million years thought that some financial product that some Richard Hart fella created would be the mechanism by which I would create such deep friendships with people. Because as a man, I'm 50 years old. It is not easy when you got kids and a family and everything for you to make friends at this age. And I think there's so many people that are over kind of college age that find the exact same thing to be there. But you know what's amazing is you go to any event And especially those that are in this crypto sphere, and you've kind of taken the same steps. And there's something about this crypto experience and something special, I think, about the Hexagon community specifically, because what it reflects is a group of people who have seen hard times. And you know what? I think it's because we can relate to Richard Hart, right? It's a blue collar kind of thing. And of course, all kinds of these hoity toity elitist types, these Bitcoin maxis and stuff, silver spoon folks will call Hexagons, trailer trash or something like that. And what they fail to miss is the fact that the meek will inherit the earth. What I mean by that is there is nothing greater in this world than an underdog story. And when you see something that is authentic. And I saw the crazy stuff from Richard Hart, but I also paid attention, and I saw that there was one who was speaking truth and was advocating for others. And what's interesting is the speed of the leader is the speed of the team. And when you look at a leader like that, I mean, you could criticize Richard, but one of the things I see, and I've seen in him over the years, is the fact that he was a true advocate. He genuinely didn't want you to get wrecked. And so what is this whole friendship and community thing about? It's watching out for others in addition to yourself, right? You don't have to sacrifice yourself, but you do have to consider others in addition to yourself, because this world that we're in, this crypto sphere that we're in, actually benefits by the growth of the system, right? Metcalfe's law. The price is directly related to the number of people that come into the network. It is a communication network. And so friendship and listening and camaraderie and events and interactions are all a part of where the value is. Because you know what I would say? It's one thing to have a bunch of money. Is that really how you define wealth in your life? I certainly don't see that as the main denominator. Richness in your life, I would say you probably look at it and judge it based on relationships and all sorts of things that are not, directly related to money. Money certainly as a resource and a tool can make things a lot easier for you. And I would say that many things go off the rails because of lack of resources. But I think what we see in this community is the fact that working together and an asymmetric win, people have seen how lives can be absolutely changed because of the gains in crypto, being early to something. But I want you to understand the bigger perspective of all of this. And that is the fact that this entire financial system is changing in a wholesale way. The whole thing is changing. And what does that mean for us? Well, can we all predict what's going to happen? No, but we know that the money is going digital. We saw music go digital. We saw all kinds of things go digital. And with that comes an opportunity. But like Richard says, right, volatility is the price you pay for the world's best performing asset. But you know what? As you take the highs, you also have to take the lows. And sometimes those lows are deep and they are dark. And it requires friendship and relationships in order to encourage one another. And you know what? Sometimes it's all it takes. But I would just encourage you that the perspective that we all ought to have, in my opinion, is one that's much, much further backed out than what we're looking at. So many times people are looking at the 4-hour chart or the 1-hour chart or the 15-minute chart. And the closer you look at that chart, the more whipsaw it is. And when you back out of these things, and that's what people want to encourage you to do in a bear market, is to back out. But this is true in life as well. Back out. Take stock of what you have and where you are. I look back and I say, you know what? If I had to write down all of the amazing things that have happened in my life that I would attribute to miraculous things, I'd have a long list. And a lot of how you see the world is a part of your philosophy. It's how you've been raised. And so many people that are in crypto that I've noticed, you have to be somewhat optimistic, if not a pragmatist, to be in crypto. If you're a pessimist, it's very difficult to be in this because you can always find a reason to fud yourself out of it. And so the people that are pessimistic are not even a part of this whole thing. And so what does that mean? The community ends up being this really cool group of people who's believing that tomorrow will be a better day than today. And I think that's really, really an important reason that this is such an exciting space and such a vibrant community. Because when you couple people who have seen hard times, dealt with difficult problems with opportunity, you've got something special. And I think we often are frustrated because Hex was beat down so much by people and called scammer, and Richard was didn't get the kind of followers he wanted, and but that's classic in life, right? Those that deserve it don't get it. But what has happened is it's created a galvanizing effect to the community. And if you listen to people like your friend Somi, which I don't know, 5 videos a day, and I love listening to him because it's just fantastic to have pointy elbows and fluffy slippers. But it's a really good reminder um, to all of us, that 150,000 people is a lot of people, and to have as many people we have streaming on all different types of content to encourage us to hold the line. We not only have contracts that have trustless yield, we not only have a copy of Ethereum 2.0. Do we have all the infrastructure yet? No, but we're in the bottom of the bear market. But more importantly, we have an advocate as a leader. And right now, he's under massive scrutiny by the SEC. And of course, what you've seen and I've seen in his communications is he's gearing up for a fight. He's boning up on his legal basis for what he's talking about. And you know what? Whichever way this goes, I want you to see this. As you face trials of many kinds, this provides us with a common experience, right? Why do people in fraternities and in the military grow such tight bonds with each other? It's because they go through hard times together. And so I don't want to discount how difficult this is for you, right? So many people that have done so well are just looking at things going, man, the euphoria of seeing Hex at 52 cents and then seeing where it is today, right? Or seeing whatever it is and having hope for the future. And you were building and it was the bull run and, there were sacrifices everywhere and money was just coming out of the woodwork. And now it's just like anemic. Folks, these are cycles. And just like anything, when you're in a difficult and a dark place, are you listening to those voices in your head? So let me get a little bit deeper with you and give you a little bit of a perspective that I have. You may or may not see the world the way I do, but I find this to be a perspective that helps me keep going and moving forward day in and day out. First and foremost is the perspective of understanding why are we even here, right? So many people in this world are telling you that we are here by accident. And I get up in the morning and I rub my eyes and I'm like, hey, I made it another day. 50 years old. I look in the mirror. I'm like, who is this old man? It's like, it's my dad. Whatever age you may be, when you kind of take stock of why am I here, it is a bizarre thing to contemplate, right? You're looking out of these eyeballs of this skull, and you know that when you're done, you turn to dust. And if you're my age, you look back at it and you're like, man, time flies by so fast. We're 22 years from 9/11. 9/11 was yesterday. I watched those towers fall with Peter Jennings. But when I look back at it, all the things that have happened, and I go, you know what? There were so many times when I thought it was over. There were so many times when I thought this is it. I don't know how I can possibly move forward. And here I am. And, that's where faith comes in. I don't take spiritual advice from people who haven't experienced anything. Why? It's hard to trust somebody that hasn't gone through struggles. You know who I'm talking about, right? The eager beaver has just graduated college, right? Hasn't faced any challenges. You have to go through tough times to be able to understand, hold on, how do you manage this life? Because if there's anything that is consistent, it is suffering and change. But it's how we deal with that. And what I love about this community is that it's a group of people who are optimistic. And you have to be, right? You can't deal with this kind of volatility unless you are. But here's the thing. We've seen what this can do. And, I got a video from a friend of mine who was interviewing one of the indigenous people of the Philippines. And he was a very important person in this region. And he was talking about their mining activities that they have there in a remote part of the Philippines. And he said, there was a mining company that did a deal with them to extract these, precious metals out of the ground. And they made an agreement with them that they would give them 1% of the production. And, you look around at where this guy lives in this very, very remote part of the Philippines and barely has a house that stands up. And you're like, how is it possible that some massive mining organization, a multinational company, would pull tremendous amounts of value off your land and not honor their agreement? He said they give us about $200 a year when they should be giving us $1 million a month. But you know what they basically say? You don't have any guns and you have nobody who's going to defend you. You get what you get. And I think about that. This is an extraction model. And we live in a world where we're told that we're an accident, that, some cells bumped into each other and some, cosmic goo turned into an amoeba, which turned into some newt. And next thing you know, you crawled out, turned into a monkey, and now, bam, you're here. And that's a lie. That's an absolute lie. Do I know all of the workings of it? Well, I have a pretty good idea. But here's the thing. I want you to try this on for size. You've been trained and you've been told that we're just here by accident. And when you're done, when it's your last minute and day, it's over and the lights go out and that's it. Majority of people in the world, if surveyed, would say, no, there is something after this. So if we're not here by accident, which I don't believe we are here, what's the purpose of all this? What's the value? It sounds like the way in which we grade the papers is not the way the one who created it all grades the papers. And so as I look at my balance in my MetaMask wallet, or I think about what the value of a life is, I'm reminded I might not be judging it the right way. And so when I talk to a friend, or I reflect on 9/11, or I think about my dad, and I think about all the things I had planned, I'm also reminded that, hey, this life that we're leading here has a framework to it. And if you watch any of my Friday streams with Steve Staggs, one of the things he'll say is the purpose of us being here is that we would rule this place. I don't know if you know this, but back in the day, back in the garden, what were we told? Right? That we were to subdue the earth, that we were given this place. And what's interesting about it, that authority that we have over this place to care for it, right? Well, we would do that in partnership with him who created it all, and that we would rule in his nature and in his character. And I'm talking about God who made it all, right? Not an accident. Well, when I look around at nature, when I look around at the creation, you know what I see? I see abundance. I see abundance. For example, you take one kernel of corn, a seed corn, and you put it in the ground, you fertilize that thing, right? You break up the earth, you put it in, it grows a corn stalk, and it sometimes has 2 ears of corn on it. And I literally looked up online how many corn, I'm having issues with my camera here, how many kernels are on 1 ear of corn. And there's like 816 rows. I had no idea. You plant one, you get, 2 ears of corn at 800 a piece, that's 1,600. That's 1 to 1,600. So if you're willing to partner with the creation, take the seed, right? If it's sitting on the shelf in a jar, it doesn't do the work that it's supposed to do, but it has a promise in that seed. And I see that as you and me as well. The metaphor of the seed is you and me. There's so much potential in you. The question is, are you going to partner with the very framework of creation? Well, the farmer knows this well. He puts that seed in the ground, and what does he end up having? Yield. Oh, that sounds familiar. A harvest. That's interesting. It's abundant. But just like I mentioned, that man who I saw the video of, where this multinational company is taking the indigenous people in the Philippines and extracting value from them, is something has gone wrong in this system. And what has gone wrong in this system is pretty obvious. In our lording and hoarding, or our hoarding and our lording over people, is we've amassed value and then we lord it over people, right? Every war that we fight is over scarcity. And so as we look into this community that we have and these relationships, what would it look like if we were to rule this place in the nature and character of the one who created it? And what if we were actually considerate of others in addition to ourselves? And what if we actually consider blessing and protecting people rather than extracting and tearing them down? I see that in meetups with Hexicans. I see a group of people who are go, hey, we're pulling in the same direction. You don't have to live your life the same way as somebody else, but you know something fundamental when you go into that meeting. You're like, hey, we are going in the same direction. We're hopeful for the same reason. And it's amazing to me that a financial product would be the thing that would drive such community and such friendship and high fives and hugs all around. It's weird. It's very, very weird, but it's wonderful. So what's happening in this world, and I think partly because of the Charlie 19, is that people across the world have had a real similar experience. I don't care where you're from. If I talk to you about the Charlie 19, the masks and the lockdowns and all that stuff, everyone can relate to that. And something that I think was used for control, if you think about that difficulty that we went through together, is that it's a commonality that we all have. And now with communication networks like the internet and streaming and all of these things, and now the money, we're seeing the humanity in one another, regardless of those who are authoritarian leaders. Because what's their MO? Their motivation is really a playbook of Marxism, which is if we can keep you satiated, right? Get you drugged up or keep you focused on a screen, or I can keep you distracted, or I can keep you reliant on the state, or I can keep you locked down in a 15-minute city. If I can create fear in your life, then you're not going to be standing up against us. And that's this whole motivation around the World Economic Forum and the WHO and all of these things that are happening, is that, a sedentary and fat and happy society is one that doesn't get out of control. And, basically it creates an environment that is easier to manage, a lot easier to manage. But we're not going to stand for that. And that's where the money comes in. Decentralized finance is a gift to the world. And I believe that it actually is more reflective of the abundance of the creation than any other model. Why? Fundamentally, decentralized finance is based on things that you can be sure of, meaning the supply doesn't change unless it's inflationary, but the rate in which it's going to inflate. Whereas with fractional reserve banking and fiat currency that's not tied to any value, we have people that can change a database record and inflate and really literally steal from you. I mean, that's what ultimately inflation is. It's robbery. But it's accepted because that's the system. Well, the system's changing. And before, we didn't have any way to push back. But like Raoul Pal says, this is the first time in human history where financial power and military power is separated. Financial power and political power is separated. Think about that. Never before. It used to be you'd win a war, you'd kill the other people, and you'd take their money, take their gold, and you would rewrite the rules in your favor. What do you think's happening between Ukraine and Russia? What are we really licking our chops? What do these warmongers want? They want to destabilize Russia, and they want somebody that's more friendly. Why? Because they want oil and gas contracts, because they want minerals. They want all these things. They don't want freedom. They don't want democracy. They want money. Because you know what happens when we send money over to Ukraine? It comes right back to the military-industrial complex. It's the business of war. But here's the thing. People are waking up around the world, and it's reflected in all of the people that are in this chat. We are international people who are having a common experience. And we're saying, you know what? We care actually about our families. We care more about, you're changing this system to be more fair. We've got a two-tiered justice system. We got all things breaking apart at the seams. And you know what? This is our opportunity in this crisis era to step up. And I'm actually very optimistic. So as we think about what's your life worth, well, think about it this way. How much value do you create? And what do you consider to be value? Do you considering taking the time to listen to a friend who's in a dark place valuable? Or do you just think it's a number in a bank account? I met a man who was a billionaire. He sold his company for $7.8 billion. And you know what's amazing about it is, what was the cost of it? His family, right? Here's the thing, you cannot serve God and money, right? And that's the challenge here is what is the right balance? What do people really want? What does financial freedom really mean? Because I'll tell you what, if you had to trade one thing for the other, I think you would reconsider what actual wealth really is. And so when I think about this community, when I think about what's really valuable here, it's the people that are still hanging out in the bear market. It's guys like Brandon from Rags to Riches. He's probably doing more counseling for people than he is, you know, talking about crypto. He's a good friend to people. And that's a question I've got for you. Are you somebody that's just tearing people down? Do you get a joy or a jolt or some dopamine hit when you fight with people on Twitter? You know, everybody's trying to drive everyone and draw everyone off sides. And I think that that's something that I really want to pass along to you. And that is, we know that we're not meant for this scarcity, right? And so many people are just trying to keep their nose above water. There is a future that is different. And so our team is working on how do we address that in a wholesale way? Well, one of the things I think is a big opportunity in this next bull run is to bring a tremendous amount of liquidity into the DeFi space. So I want you to imagine this future. Imagine a future in which DeFi had billions and billions of more dollars of locked liquidity. So think about that for a second. What if someone or some group or organization brought in billions and billions of dollars of locked liquidity? What would it mean if there wasn't, of the things that you care about, the potential for a rug? What if there was actual trust? Well, if you look at it, there are some, and I would emphasize some, there are some tokens that have renounced their ownership, that have locked liquidity, right? That have all the right check marks. And if you think about this future, you tie that with utility or a narrative or things like independence, sovereignty, serving churches, serving people that are poor, whatever it may be, is that when you align yourself and your values with your money, what do you have? It resonates. And so I think about this next bull run. You know, everybody's like, I got to catch the next technological thing. You know what I think really is this future is if all the money's going digital and it's really going to be a battle of stable coins between CBDCs and then independent money, where are the transactions going to happen that are not corrupted? So think about that. Where are transactions going to happen that are not corrupted? What I mean by that is that, you know, folks like BlackRock and WHO, you know, global banks and all of these big players where they can monkey with the system. Well, they're trying to do it with Bitcoin, right? Get all the hash power, buy all the companies that own all the Bitcoin, right? You're trying to control something that was originally meant to be truly decentralized. And that's what they do, right? Amass things, hoarding and lording. That's the whole name of the game. But DeFi is different, right? When you look at Hex, for example, when you look at Texan, when you look at Ophir, when you look at these projects that have trustless yield and they are immutable contracts on the blockchain, and so many things on the Pulse chain are this way, you go, well, hold on a second. I'm betting on the Pulse chain. Why? I'm betting on the Pulse chain because the Pulse chain represents a layer one that I don't believe will be compromised. Well, what do you mean? Well, I look at all of these players, Vitalik, right? Look at Hoshkinson. They look at all of these players, right? Obviously, CZ. There are people and interests that are beyond them that will influence them. And I look at Richard Hart. And of course, you know, some people don't like the fact that he is so independent and brash and the Donald Trump of crypto. But what I do recognize in him, and if you've seen his Sci-Vive stuff and the way he's talked, he's an independent thinker who's going his own way. He reminds me kind of an Elon Musk type of character or a Henry Ford. He's an innovator, but he's also an advocate. And if he understands one thing is that while fighting against, you know, censorship by supporting free speech or the freedom of assembly and, you know, this movement concept, but there's also privacy, right? You should have privacy in your transactions. Is that and someone who is going basically toe to toe with the SEC, which may have been planned since the beginning. It's an opportunity to literally pull one of the greatest financial judo moves that's ever happened. So let me ask you this. Besides the fact that the traditional narrative of Ethereum's too expensive in gas fees or it's not fast enough, forget all that stuff. There's a future that's coming in which you cannot do transactions and be anonymous. That's what is under attack. You will not have a place that you can go where you can have privacy. Well, where is going to be a place like that? I look out into crypto and I don't see anyone outside of Richard Hart that's not willing to compromise their principles, right? The rest of them will sell us down the river, right? If they get a better offer, they go for it. Oh, we're partnering with Visa. Oh, we're partnering with PayPal. Oh, we're doing this. This system was not meant to be partners with anyone. It's meant to stand alone on its own. That's the reason that it was invented, is to get away from this corrupted extraction system and to be in one that actually supports abundance. But we can only do that in community. And here's the thing, folks. You're so worried about, and I'm so concerned, bear market and all these things. Well, the halvening's coming up and these things are in cycles. But there's an opportunity for this thing to absolutely blow up. But what ends up happening is that there is not another alternative. And that's where this thing gets really exciting. It doesn't happen in the next 3 months, and it probably doesn't happen in the next 6 months. But the things that are happening in this world right now as we get towards the 2024 elections is that people are going to do all kinds of authoritarian type things. And we're going to see all kinds of things from on high being pushed down as related to crypto regulations. But one of the things that we know about Hex and Pulse chain people, unaffected. What does that mean? Well, it might not mean a lot to the average person on the street, but in the future, when there's no place for you to go to have transactions, right? You have to go somewhere. I mean, it kind of reminds me of when we put all the sanctions on Russia. Russia's stronger than they've ever been. Oh, that kind of backfired. It's the same thing to be true here. You try to keep good people down and they will find an alternative because necessity is the mother of invention. And I put my money on Richard Hart's ability to advocate and to create the fundamental infrastructure for us to be able to have privacy and transactions. Not just privacy, but freedom to communicate in these communication networks of which money and code is. And that's what you're seeing sizing up here. There's a battle coming. And what's great about this is, you know what? When you only have two options, one good and evil, you know what? You're going to attract some people. So I think one of the great things about this is there's some really smart people in this community, really smart people, and they are building. And there gets to be a point where, hey, compare these things to each other. You know, it's one thing to say, well, this one's cheaper and this one's more expensive. But imagine when you're saying this one is literally enslaving you and this one is setting you free. Now, will it be that clear? Maybe, maybe not. Am I pretty Pollyannish to think that? Yes, because I'm optimistic about the future. But if you got to pick a horse to ride, you know, you could look at it from a plain statistics perspective, right? What, there's only 150, 160,000 people in the Pulse Chain ecosystem, right? A 10x isn't hard to imagine when there's 200 million people in Bitcoin. So we've got an opportunity here. But also it requires that we act. There are more people that do streaming and support the Pulse Chain and Hex ecosystem than any other out there. We are the most galvanized. We have the most events. We have the most people traveling like RG3 and, you know, speaking at the Pulse Tour, people that are taking time and effort to educate people. And what I love about this community is that we don't sell anything. We don't. And even if someone bought Hex or Pulse or Texan, it doesn't really directly affect us. And so what's great about this is we're just one beggar helping another beggar find food. We know where the food's at. And what's so crazy about this food is that the more people that eat it, the more valuable it becomes. And it's really, really cool. But here's the thing. I believe in this next 4-year cycle, we're going to see the full digitization of money. Well, what does that mean? It means wherever you decide to store your money and whatever horse you pick to ride, there's a good chance that that wealth and value is going to be preserved. And ultimately, as the authoritarians begin to clamp down, the more and more it'll become obvious that we need an alternative. And what will be there standing? The Pulse chain and all these projects and all this infrastructure. And people will have no choice but to go, you know what? I can't do this stuff on Ethereum anymore. Why? Because they're tracking everything. They're the ones supporting all the CBDCs. I'm not going in that direction. I want my freedom and my sovereignty. That's what I'm about. That's what I believe Richard Hart's about. And that's what I think attracts you to this whole thing. It's because you want to chart your own course. You want to see a future that we build together that is abundant and not scarce. But I want you to know that it's more related to the community and friendship than anything. So when people are down, when people are calling you going, man, I don't know which way's up. I need someone to remind me that tomorrow is a better day. Just to keep moving forward. It's all we can do. Don't look back. Do not look back. Just move forward. Whatever it is, no regrets. That's the coolest thing about this whole crypto system is that it is an asymmetric thing. I mean, if you look at an adoption curve, what's the percentage of people in the world that have adopted crypto so far? What's it, 4 or 5%? We're just getting started, folks. What's it, a 1 trillion market cap, the entire crypto world, which seems like a lot of money? The bond market and real estate's 200 trillion. That's what the estimates of where this thing goes. They're saying it grows at about 12.9% a year. Folks, let's go. Now, you got to pick the right things and not get wrecked and watch out for your keys and hang on to things. It takes personal responsibility to win. But we need to do that in community. And there's value to being in community with friends. And I'm very, very thankful for this community. I'm thankful for genuine, honest people who are putting in the time, not charging people for stuff, right? They're just saying, you know what? A rising tide lifts all boats. So what is your life worth? Well, if you've ever seen somebody lose it, you know it's worth a lot. Because when you leave, it causes a tremendous amount of carnage. And I would say this, there is a reason you are here. There is a reason you were created. There is a reason of what you do. And here's the amazing part, and I've seen this in my own life. All the things that I think were missteps get redeemed. Yeah. There's a guy named David. King David, you probably know him. He did some things that probably weren't the best. But you know what? He was a man after God's own heart. And what's amazing about someone like David is he faced Goliath. And why was it that this young shepherd boy, the smallest of all of his brothers, who was delivering food to the front lines, why did he think he could take on this giant? And you know what he said? He said, I fought the lion and the bear. And this is a picture for your own life. You have fought the lion and the bear. And as you realize and recognize that you are living in the context of a much, much bigger story and that you have a role to play and that you are called to rule this place in the nature and character of God, and you were to do it in a way that would bless and protect others. And I would ask you the question, are you leading your life in a way that is aligned with the very nature and structure of creation? And are you thinking about your role and your responsibility in blessing and protecting those around you? Because here's the thing, folks, whether you think you have a philosophy or not, you've got one. It's either the way you were raised, there's a lot of things that are factors of that. But what's beautiful about this community is that if you don't think that this is just a waste and we're just an accident, right? Because the people that believe that, if they think this is the best it's going to get, they're going to just get theirs. They're going to step on your neck and your head to get what they want. And what we recognize in this space is that it's actually a function of the strength of relationships because it's a communication network. So why do people join in? Do they join in just because number go up? No, there's actually a lot more value. And I would say this, one of the greatest values that we bring to each other in this community is belonging. I'm going to tell you what, so many people that are in our community have been people who have felt like they are on the outside, forgotten about, people that feel like they don't have any value. And guess what? You come into this community and people go, there is a space and room for you. You are welcome here. We will high five you and hug you. David Lee will hug you. Do you know David Lee actually hugged the Uber driver? That gives you an idea what kind of Mexican he is. But to me, folks, this is what it's all about. And it directly affects the price. What do you mean? Caring for other people directly affects the price? Yep, it does. Why? Because authentic people who are thoughtful and caring of others attract other people, right? Who are the people that repel people? The people that are toxic. Those are the ones that repel people. And so, what are we doing here? If not encouraging each other? Because here's the thing, this thing only grows, right? Sometimes it's easy to grow because there's big green candles and everybody likes the number go up. But the key here is when everyone else has fallen to the wayside, are you doing things that pick people up out of the ditch? Because if you are, you're preserving them for another day. You're helping, encouraging them to move forward. Because here's the thing, we're going to be high-fiving soon enough. Once again, God sees you at the corner of his eye. And this thing will start moving. And you'll be like, oh, yeah, I knew it the whole time. No, but just recognize that people on your left and your right are challenged and that you have a role and responsibility. Because you know what? When you're in a dark place, somebody's going to be there for you. But that's what's so cool about this. Who would have thought? I think about like the Vanguard small cap fund. Do you think guys are getting together around their 401ks and high-fiving? Heck no, it's not a function of the legacy system. But to think that there was something that these cypherpunks and anti-authoritarians would get together and say, hey, there's another way. Let's get together and let's create our own value. Let's program the money ourselves. Let's create T-shares and trustless yield. And then let's get together and, get a DeLorean. That's what happened. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. But folks, all this is a shared fiction. It's a narrative. It's a story. That's all it's ever been. Because what is fiat currency but by decree? It's not backed by anything. So rather than using the government's made up internet money, let's use our own. That's it. And that's what we're doing. So we're creating our own future, but we do that in unity and in community. We don't do that by, shooting people in the foxhole. I mean, you know what that's like, right? You ever been in a situation with your family and you're like, we got a battle like over here, like we're fighting this battle and you got a gun to my head in the foxhole. This doesn't make too much sense. And that's what I see left and right. No, let's fight this common enemy. He who is for us, who could be against us? Come on. Anyway, I wanted to encourage you today and to remind you that you're not here by accident and that this relationship and community that we've built here as we reflect on terrible things in this world like 9/11, when we think about the extraction of value from others, when we see all of these things that are happening in this world, you kind of have to get back to the lowest common denominator. And what is that? Care and concern for other people. How do we lead and rule in the nature and character of the one who created the entire system? And how do we bless and protect those that we have authority over? Your family, all of those things. Because you want to know what real wealth is? You want to know what you're really worth? It's the sum of those people that are there on your deathbed. They don't roll in a cart of money. They don't open up your MetaMask wallet. I stared at my dad in the casket. He didn't take anything with him. What really defines you is how well you've loved and cared for those around you. But I'll tell you what, it's important to have a vision for the future, because without a vision, the people perish. And to see that we are a part of something at the very beginning of the digitization of money, and to think that we have an opportunity to change the very trajectory of our families and our lives is incredible. And I will not stop sharing that message. You have to have and you have to see a vision, because here's the thing. It's weird how it works, but it's amazing when you've got a vision for a future and you focus and you're disciplined on it. It's amazing what happens. Right now, a lot of people just need to be, I just need to hang on for one more day. I just need to get through this day. And you know what? We'll be there for you. It's not easy, but I will tell you this. It wasn't easy for David to fight the lion and the bear. It wasn't. But when he saw Goliath, he knew he didn't need Saul's armor. He's like, get this off of me. And he got 5 smooth stones, right? He took Goliath down right in the head. That's what we're doing. We're battling this extraction model. This extraction model is built on the back of people who are hoarding and lording over us. This world is abundant. There is more than enough to go around. And we are ushering in this new economic order. This new economic order is built on authentic relationships where people are concerned about others in addition to themselves. Thanks for joining the Pulse today. You are worth a lot. Let's get into the chat and then we'll pass it on. Let's see what we got here. Who is in the chat? Cookie de Chocolata. Hello, everybody. Good to see you. Ramon Corella, what's up from Central Texas? It's good to see you. Hope everybody's having a great day. OG, Texan, day one. John May with no money. Life really sucks when you're living in the system. Amen to that. It's the truth. It is the truth, John May. And I know you're struggling, and just folks, you gotta move forward. And it's hard. You got to think about it. And that's the thing, move forward. Do not rest on your own understandings. Hexy Quinn, with all the love in the world. Living off the land would be great, but you need money to buy land to do this on. It's the truth. Finn Bear, what's up, Finn Bear? Hey, is the question rhetorical? If not, I answer all of it. If not my life, the life of my children is the most precious thing to me. And of course, you see that, right? You do anything for them. Could we extend some of that to our fellow men? I think we can. That's what the whole thing's about, right? We're fighting the battle of these voices that are telling us we're not enough. Mixed Crypto Arts, what's going on? Hello, peeps. Magnus is here. Let's see who else is in the house. It's so good to see you. If you got any questions or anything or comments or confessions, I'd be happy to take those. Not feeling it today. Good to see you. It's all right, man. Take care. Hexonium. Martin Luther King said, peace if possible, truth at all costs, defend yourself. There you go. Some good stuff. No painting paints itself. It's got to be painted by someone. Hit the like button. He promised to prosper us and bless us if we choose his ways. Well, and you think about it, there's a framework to this world. You don't have to live too long to realize that there's some basic things. I have never dropped something and it fallen upward. There are some basic rules to all this. Of course, science will say, they'll observe it and tell you what it's about. But at the end of the day, it all fits together. It's amazing when you start drilling into how things work together. And don't even get me started with, everything from the magnetic bonds between every possible atom, but then just the mysteries of creation. But it's all abundant, but we insert into it death. We literally put our hand to it. Steve Stagg said to me the other day, he said, one of the things about how God designed this thing was that he would partner with his man that he created in his image. And he said, think about the Ark of the Covenant. And for those of you who don't know the story, the Ark of the Covenant is where they had the 10 Commandments, right? It's a box covered with gold. They carried it with poles, right? It had power. It had the 10 Commandments. It had manna, and it had, Aaron's staff. And what did this represent? But the glory of God, right? But they had to carry it, right? He could have chosen a lot of different ways for that to be transported. It could have floated around, and it didn't. And so this whole way of saying, I'm going to partner with my man who is made in my image to rule in my nature and character and bless and protect those that they're entrusted with. That's the model, right? Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Well, what is this thing supposed to look like? It's sure not supposed to look like this extraction model. But you know what? It's up to us to make the decisions that will actually bless and protect those people, right? We got to get over ourselves. We got to consider others in addition to ourselves. Marxism says trust is good, control is better. Yeah. And they will do everything they can to pit one group against another. Whenever you hear that, when everyone's trying to tell you who to hate and trying to draw you off sides, have some self-control. The Ukraine war is just a movie set. What a joke. It seems like it is, man. When you see some of these people partying, you're like, really? I thought there were rockets going off everywhere. What's going on? Fallen Comrade, Hexonium. What's up, everybody? Good to see you. Who dat? Who dat? We are free. We are healthy. We are love. We are God's creation. We are creators. It's so cool. I was talking to my son the other day, and I said to him, hey, son, what's the difference between us and the animals? I said, what's different between you and our dog? And we talked about it for a while, and he kind of came back to the same answer, which is, we can make stuff, Dad. And think about that for a second. My dog doesn't make much, right? I try to ask my dog to make dinner. Nope, doesn't work. They'll make a mess, but there's a creative ability that we have that we just take for granted. We just assume, oh yeah, we evolved from the Neanderthals and started using tools and fire. Yeah, next thing you know, you're doing AI and coding in Python. There's something unique about us, and we are differentiated from the animals. And so when you look at who we are and what we are created to be, this creative ability is the key. And so to bring this home to crypto, look at what Richard Hart says all the time. He's like, if you want to draw a picture of a pony, which I think is so funny, it's a pony. If you want to create a picture of a pony, you can draw one. Isn't that interesting, right? My dog can't draw a picture of a pony, no matter how much it tries. So there's something inherent in you that creates value, and that's where value lives. It has to be in the head, the mind of a man or a woman first. And where does that come from? Who are you like? You're not like a chimpanzee. You're like the creator himself. And it gave you the spark of the spirit of God that gives you creative ability. Are you going to use that to bless and protect? Are you going to lead and rule in his nature and character? Or are you just going to get yours? When Lambeau. Richard also cares for the people. He's shown that through the years. There's no question about it. He's an advocate. But he's also seen hard times, right? Blue collar guys. Mom had schizophrenia. His dad worked HVAC. I mean, I can relate to that, man. He's seen hard times, but he also knows he's seen people get wrecked. You know what? You can't blame the guy for wanting to win, but he also wants you to win. And I'm okay with that. That's enough for me. David Lee with the fire. Hex Force One. What's going on? Drix. Evo. A hole in the matrix. Joey Torres, what's going on? Airto, good to see you. It's been a while. It's such a blessing to have you in this ecosystem, Matt, and so many others that are making this bear market much more bearable. Well, I just felt like I had to. A friend called me, was really struggling. I'm like, if he's struggling, there's got to be other people that are struggling out there. Your life is worth a lot. You're just looking at it from a financial perspective. It's not something that you can just monetize. Who you are and what you do. And I'll tell you, there is nothing better than getting out of your side of yourself and caring for other people. It's amazing how nourishing it is. The only one. Thank you, Crypto Heartbeat, from the bottom of my heart. Dude, the only one, man. What a great friend. He came to a meetup in Austin. I think second or third time I saw him, because I saw him in Las Vegas as well. But he had a shirt, and on the pockets it said Hexagon on one side and Texican on the other. I thought it was awesome. It's good to see you, the only one. Liberty or death, God uses all things for the good of those who love him. God bless you. And that's the thing. It's hard for people to see, right? It's a mystery, right? We don't just see like angels and God, in the flesh. And, you think about, where is this, this concept of faith? Where does it fit in? And I'll tell you what, just look out there, look at how it all fits together. I mean, that's frankly why I read the scriptures, because it gives me insight. I believe on reincarnation. Any thoughts, any memories? And you think about that. There's a lot of research that people have done related to people in past lives. And it's really interesting that, is it a universal thing? What does it look like? What is it about? I don't have all the answers. But, I think about this moment of what I can affect in the present. And I go, you know what? One thing I know, God exists and I'm not him. Joey Torres, what's going on? Acting emaciated, welcome back. And Rich Liberation to finish it all off. Thanks for being here on the Pulse today. My name is Matt. This is Crypto Heartbeat. We have gone for an hour. Thank you so much for joining the Pulse today. And keep your head up. Do not be discouraged. Be reminded that you have value. And if you see anyone in our community, in your family who's struggling, give them a helping hand. Listen to them. You don't have to fix everything. A lot of times people just need to vomit it out of their system. And you just need to be there for people, because it means a tremendous amount. People are struggling left and right, especially in this bear market. So money isn't everything. It helps a little bit. Take care of yourself and be good to others. Don't mess with Texas either. Take care, everybody.